Lyudmyla Khersonska comes to us today with an untitled poem. Thank you to Words Without Borders for publishing this poem. You can read this for free. We'll leave a link down below. We're going to read it, live to you right now from the website. The whole soldier doesn't suffer. It's just the legs, the arms, just blowing snow, just meager rain. The whole soldier shrugs off hurt. It's just missile systems, hail and beach. Just bullets on the wing, just happiness ahead. Just meteorological pogroms, geo-hairstratus wannabes, just the girl with the pointer, poking the map in the stomach. Just thunder, lightning, just dreadful losses. Just the day with a dented helmet. Just God who doesn't protect. That's translated by Catherine E. Young.
So I have to ask, what is, again, because you're teaching me here all this wonderful poetry, what is it when they use the same thing over and over and over again? Because it's just, because that's what I called it, was the just poem.
Oh, come on. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I know the word. It's like anaphora and anaphora. I'll put the word up on the screen and put the definition. How about that?
Fair enough.
So this is an interesting poem, right? Because the first 5 lines are the shoulder shrugging off things, right? His feelings, acknowledgement. Like, what do you think? What do you think he's shrugging off? Like, what is with the reusage of just in this poem?
I think I don't know if it's insecurity. If it's just this, it's not a big deal. It's just this, it's not a big deal. Because I feel like these are things that are really big deal, that are mattering, and they're trying to shield themselves from real world or disassociate real world from war, because otherwise you're not going to be able to be the good little soldier if you hold on to those true values of back home.
Okay. One of those ideas being kind of like, if I use language to minimize its importance, perhaps then I might cut off part of, my humanity. Is that one way to look at it?
Yeah, that's definitely, I like that. Yeah, cut off humanity, cut off your humanity. Start with your legs, then your arms, then it's just snow, it's just rain. It doesn't matter. It can't hurt you because you aren't who you are anymore.
There's a line in here that just says meteorological pogroms, geo-hairstratus wannabes. Any idea what that means?
No clue. I'd have to look those words up, honestly. I thought they might be of a different language and not be English. I didn't know how they were translating exactly.
Well, you know what pogroms are from a historical standpoint, correct?
Yeah, okay. So meteorological, I'm struggling with that. And then geo is
so
geography.
That's a sordid historical past, right? It's kind of like an ethnic cleansing, where particularly when it came to Jewish individuals, Russia would send in militarized people and literally weed out those individuals, reducing them in the population from a thinning perspective. It's a horrible thing that's happened, and it's happened multiple times in Russia's past.
So are the missiles from the few sentences before the meteorological, they're hailing, missile systems hail, they're hailing down on them? Is that a callback to the first few sentences there?
I didn't take it that way. This was the beginning, like you said, of a new sentence. She's just it's just these things, just these cleansings that are happening, kind of used in a very flippant way to almost kind of disassociate herself with it. But it's the second part that I thought was more interesting when she says geo-hairstratus. My pronunciation is terrible too. Don't ever take me for the authoritative source on those things. Go to Jack the Rambling Raconteur for those things. Wannabes. And that is I believe, I'm very sure that's Greek in background. So it sounds to me like you're not familiar with that story.
Herostratus? No. Herostratos?
Yeah, I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but Herostratos was basically this. I think he was just a regular Greek citizen. And what happened was he went in and basically lit this place on fire.
A little pyromaniac, okay.
Yeah, he lit the Temple of Artemis on fire. And basically what happened was... Well, it was, and what they did is they kind of had the Voldemort rule where they're okay, don't say his name and we won't give him any power, basically. But of course, what does that
Oh,
do? Now
okay.
everybody's talking about him, right? And eventually his name became synonymous of someone who does a crime to specifically become famous, to enter into the populace of the mind, if you will. And here we have people committing these atrocities and terrors. For what purpose? Is it to become this evil dictator, to become and push your will upon the world? I guess from a victim standpoint, that's definitely the angle that they're taking. Like, oh, you're just doing these killings just so that you can make a name for yourself and become famous almost.
So with geo there being like geography or representing the Earth or the planet, these are people that are planet killers. They want to be planet killers.
Well, think about what happens in Ukraine, right? You have Russians coming in, not just,
Yeah.
again, this is an older poem, so this isn't about today. This is something that is a long going thing in Ukraine. There's in the eastern part of the country, there's been a long descent of what are we? Are we Ukrainian? Are we Russian? And then the Russians thinking we should return to the old Soviet way of being. We were more powerful then. It's a complicated relationship of these peoples who some grow up, like Ukrainian is my language, and some are like, well, Ukrainian and Russian are my language, and a very small portion are Russian is my language, right? It's a complex uh, geographical area and discussion, and to have these questions of who are we and these wars and invasions happening results in a for what purpose type of discussion almost.
It makes a lot more sense now because I mean you have all these big words that I was struggling with, meteorological and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then there was the girl with the pointer poking the map in the stomach. It's I guess that idea then of redrawing Ukraine and making it more of those different ethnic groups or those different, ideological groups or, language groups inside of maybe the map needs to be drawn. Are we all supposed to kind of be together? It makes a lot more sense now, those next few sentences or that next part of that sentence.
Or national boundaries, right? Like nationality wise, where are we? So, and
Yeah.
then one of the last lines, of course, is just God who doesn't protect, right? And I think that there's a heavy Christian, orthodoxy presence in the area. So we've had a lot of discussions over the Russian nationalism and identity. I think you have somewhat similar here, and here you have this discussion of this person saying, okay, what does all this lead to? We see death, we see destruction. And she says, we don't have a protector. We don't have a belief anymore because all we see is suffering and death. And I think that's kind of very sad to think about as is someone saying, I don't know who can protect me, I guess.
Yeah. I love the last sentence because you think of many people before modern technology and science explained thunder, lightning, death, all of that is godlike powers to somebody that doesn't understand our modern interpretation of science and how we explain it. And if there's all these powerful things that God can control, like thunder and lightning, yet he won't protect us simple people from, a possible death or invasion. It kind of took me at a loop there at the end of obviously kind of a somber poem that then it was kind of a gut punch of like, yep, and just God who won't save or protect me. And it's like, oh, wow. That it didn't feel like it came out of left field, but it did feel like that it had a very pungent punch there at the very, very end for me.
Yeah, agreed. Right. And like you said, coming after all these things, these references to gods, the pogroms and things of those nature, it's difficult to interpret what does all this mean? And for what purpose is all of this, I guess, is kind of one of the questions. It's a very existentialist poem, I guess, in a sense, where I feel like the narrator is going through this questioning and realization, right? Like all these things that used to be important, well, now they're cutting off their humanity. It's just this. It's just this. It's just this nationalism that's coming in and destroying our way of life. And for what purpose, right? And who's going to protect me? It's complicated to go through that type of a mentality shift, I would say.
Agreed.
So thank you to Words Without Borders for pushing this poem out. Again, I will leave a link to their website where you could check it out. And of course, you could purchase the Words for Wars poetry collection, which is kind of where we read it from as well. Thank you for checking out our talk today. You will leave some playlists for other poetry and other Ukrainian stories that we're going to cover in the future in playlists down below. My name has been Una. We post videos every Monday and Thursday. Peace.
Crypto out.